Hey, I'm Sam. Welcome to Writer's Room. Come on in. I am Sam Supreme. I make music and do hopefully cool things in the city of Cleveland and worldwide. Do just random things. I love that sound. All right, that sounds interesting. I'm Sam Supreme. I make music from my heart. When I perform on stage, I give everything because that is the perfect place to be. If you ever want to be in an environment where you can hear cool stories and feel amazing energy, come sit inside of my world. Sit in silence.
All right, cool. So let's get into it. How would you describe hip hop and or house music? Because I've definitely heard a little bit of both in your work. What makes them different from other genres?
So, I love these questions, by the way. They had me like, I had a pre-interview to get out my feelings and thoughts with what you said. So I don't come off like, what am I talking about? But, all right, so hip hop and house music. When I think about hip hop and house music, first I think about hip hop because hip hop is kind of what I identify with as far as like my music, my person, how I live life. I feel like it's more, I live my life through hip hop, you know what I'm saying, and that expression. But for me, when I look at hip hop and house, it's music made by Black and brown people with technology, ingenuity, and the future in mind. Like that's what I think about. I think about community because obviously, like both both are similar in that way, where it's like Black and brown people trying to find community and also make music coming off of like the disco era and kind of like where they took music from that dance, is both rooted in dance, both rooted in movement. Um, but obviously we know more about the hip hop community, like mainstream. I feel like house is starting to come up as like, let's understand the history and the impact of it. Obviously, house coming from the Midwest, Black, brown, gays, scene, all people, but they're more like accepting of other people. I feel like house, when I obviously wasn't there, I wasn't even born. But when I look at, documentaries or like ask people, because we live in the Midwest, so we heard a lot. I remember hearing a lot of house music as a child, but just blending it at all into like Black music. You know what I'm saying? It's music my aunties play. You feel what I'm saying? But it's got a different feel than hip hop. So now, that I'm understanding the differences, it makes me feel excited that no matter what happens, we're gonna create community and innovation. And that's kind of how I feel about it. And yeah, I guess maybe I'm expressing the sounds I express is because I grew up in that culture. So it's kind of who I am culturally. So it makes sense that the sounds that come out of my head sometimes is just that naturally because the sound palette I grew up listening to. You know what I'm saying?
No, that's necessary. And I think an important part of that is how you dove into the history of it, because those origins and the makeup of those origins, and how you said in both aspects, they speak to innovation. They speak to a triumphant way of life and using what we have. And so that's really cool. That's really cool that you use that as your background.
Yeah. No, it's I mean, yeah, just like understanding like how, because a lot of people say music made in America is Black music, right? And like, yes, you literally can track that back to, you know, I went to New Orleans one time and had a like breakthrough moment in Louis Armstrong Park, and I understood the significance of Louis Armstrong Park. And there's literally a marker there that says this is the foundation of all American music. And what is that foundation rooted in? Native Americans and slaves, that being the only place legally that they could play drums on Sunday. So mixing the sounds of the Native Americans and mixing the sounds from slaves literally creates all music that we listen to, the patterns, the sounds, it all literally comes from that park. Like, you can stand on the grounds of what all music is based off of, that was created from our culture and our experience. So when you say like, what's the difference between hip hop and house? It's not really that. It's going back to our ancestors, how they innovate time and space, and they create and express. And so that is our history in America. And we can go real deep in that, and how hip hop and house, I feel like we're in the, especially, you know, both genres kind of go back to bring forward. And so that's why I like it so much, is because a part of the culture is to dig, is to understand, is to go back. And if you go back far enough, you'll understand that all of the sounds we're listening to can be tracked back to our experience and our shared experience with marginalized people in this. Like, it's not like from, you know, the Native Americans and the enslaved people in New Orleans and in the South, all the way up to those people in the Bronx and the people, you know, in Detroit and Chicago that were making it. We all literally live in the same experience. So it's just, what year were you born? So
No, that's definitely real. And kind of going into all living the same experience, all experiencing the same thing from what our ancestors once stood on and how we are still in the process of standing. The second question I have for you is, in your eyes, how does Blackness, womanhood, and music intersect from your experience?
I look at it and I don't. I pay attention to it and I don't. I don't let society's definition of how the identity that you may fit in based on what society says dictate how I should behave in a space. I take that into consideration, but then I also go back and ask myself, who is Sam and what does Sam show up as? Because my experience as a Black woman that doesn't wear high heels or shake my ass, or like, it's so many things, but it's just Sam. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes I feel like we try to break down how society labels us and how we feel in that. I don't even go there half. I just say, who am I? Because also I feel like if I woke up when I first started doing music and use my identity as a roadblock, then I wouldn't be, you know what I'm saying? Because I would psych myself up on what society tells me my identity should or should not, you know, like, I don't even get wrapped up in there. I say, I'm Sam. I don't care what you think girls should sound like, because I was 15 at the time. I'm just trying to find who I am. But luckily, I had men around me where I didn't have to, I was protected in these venues. I didn't have to think about it. They told me I can wear whatever I want to. So sometimes I wore heels. So most of the times I didn't. But whatever I chose, it was more about me figuring out who I am, not, oh, this is a girl rapping. Like, nah, at the end of the day, I'm Sam rapping. I might fit all these boxes, but that's the point, is you to hear me talk about my experience, even though, yeah, I might fit all these boxes, but I got an experience that might be different. So listen to my music, because that's who I am. And I feel like, I don't get wrapped up in trying to represent something, or because I'm like, okay, I'm walking up, what kind of mic you need? Oh, I need a da da da. Oh, you can say that because you're a girl. Like, at the certain point, it's like, okay, if you're basing my intelligence off of how I was born, now that's like weird. Like, that's you know what I'm saying? So I feel like, but if I know some people that, oh, they think I don't know what I'm talking about, so I just won't go. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, sometimes I feel like we let those things define us so much that instead of figuring out, okay, yes, I understand how society puts me, but like, who am I? And how do I feel about my experience in this space and time, rather than what society tells me I should be experiencing, or I should be outraged about, or should whatever. Like, I'm not even mad that somebody doesn't respect me because I'm female in a male-dominated situation. I look at that as a plus. Oh, you underestimate me. Oh, this gives me an opportunity to show you, like, don't think that just because somebody walks up here with a pussy, they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. And so that's a personal problem. They got shit to do with me. I'm just here to express myself. So I don't know. I just kind of went.
No, that's necessary. No, it's necessary. We appreciate that, because that's one thing, allowing you to be raw, authentic, and answer. Like, we sent you the questions, but that's the fun part of, like,
I did have a conversation about that. I'm like, but I don't know. Like, sometimes I think about it, sometimes I don't. Some people have asked me before, like, who do you represent? Who you holding your flag for? And I'm like, nobody. What? It's mine. And I understand how, me growing up, I looked at Missy like I could do anything, you know what I'm saying? Like, but she's not holding a flag for me. She's a reflection of something I can see inside myself. And I'm not asking her to do nothing for me but be herself. You know what I'm saying? So there have people to be like, oh, you should hold your flag for this. But it's like, why do you think I should care about these things? And
I think it's difficult for artists to have to be this image, or to have to quote unquote represent people, or and I was reading a book about this, and it's called like one by one from the inside out. And I'm not gonna lie, I didn't finish the book, but he had this one part, and that's what I was about to say earlier, where he says sometimes, as not only as Black people, but as people in general, we pigeonhole ourselves because of our identities, or because of how we show up, and because of what society says. We then say, okay, well, then I'm gonna represent these people, or I'm gonna show up this way. And sometimes we can harm ourselves when somebody do ask, okay, Khalil, how do you show up here? And it's like, well, I just wanted to show up for real. It wasn't a matter of why I was showing up or who I was necessarily showing up for. I just wanted to be here because I feel good in this space, because I like how I feel when I'm creating these things. I say things or I share certain aspects of myself, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm doing this for a specific cause, or for a specific person. Right, and it speaks more
to your spirit rather than your identity. And I think those are two different things that people don't, in this conversation I was having before, to think about how I feel about these questions, like a pre-interview. Like right now, right? Like, I was having a discussion with some friends, like, we got Palestine going on, And a lot of people think celebrities should say more about it. And I'm like, I don't agree with that. But then uh, they quote Nina Simone and say artists should reflect their times. So I'm like, well, wait, you got to think about that time period, right? Because that time period, it meant something different. Now, you know, standing up for Palestine because your fans demand you to, and you don't have any personal connection or interest, is now capitalism, you know, for a cause, and that you don't really care about your fan base, and it has nothing to do with your authentic need. And I also posed the question, why do we keep looking at artists for like our political decisions? Like, that is a wrong. Like, we need to just stop. These are people sitting here to express themselves. Now, if they're sometimes I know my personhood is political in itself without having to be rah-rah about it. Just living as a short Black woman in space and time is a thing, right? But so is somebody from Thailand. They got a whole experience that they can speak, talk to, that has nothing to do with, you know, what we're hype about at the moment. You feel what I'm saying? And so for me, I don't think Nina Simone quote, we can apply that today, because we living in a different time where, you know, Black Lives Matter and everybody's close in a black square, but then they're living their lives a different way. And we are only holding them accountable to their social posts and not their everyday actions. But then it's like, should we even care anyway? Because we're not doing that with our actual people that can solve these problems that we're actually enraged about. So it's like, you know, for me, you know, when people ask me personally, like, what do you feel about it? It's like, I don't know enough about this situation to have a stance. I'm at a place where, like you said, I'm just going to sit here and take in this information, because my artistry can't reflect something I don't know. And for me to pretend like my artistry reflects something that I know and I actually don't know, it's like, what is it? Right. So, you know, we at a stage, you know, where I think a lot of people get caught up with, in what do you believe in? And I think it's a good thing to ask artists, but I don't think we should hold artists responsible for social, political, economic advice at all. Like, Jay-Z should not teach me financial literacy. He should teach me how to write a 16. I'm not looking for that from that man. He figured it out for him personally, right? But that's not, you know, I might like, hey, what bank account you use? You know, like simple shit like that. Man is not our economic salvation. I think, you know, we need to kind of get off that type of thing and be more conscious of like what we ask for from our artists and what we are looking for from them, you know. It's weird because we don't want to pay them money for the music and we want them to save our lives. Like, what do you want? What do you want?
That's real. That's a good one. What got you into writing?
Boom. So this tattoo is from my grandmother. She passed away, cancer, but she lived a beautiful life. So when I was younger, I feel like she was always like artistic, but she was a nurse, you know, those times. Like, everybody's grandmama was probably a nurse. Somebody's a nurse somewhere. But she was very like artistic. She used to like draw like sketches of dresses and stuff on the sides, and she used to like paint, and she used to like write poems. So I used to like writing when I was a kid, making up stories. So this is a poem. It says, a beautiful seed that is now full bloomed, a flower reaching towards the sun to receive warmth to grow. And so it's a poem she wrote to me when I was little. And I had drew like some flowers at the bottom of it. And like when she passed, I found that right next to her bed. Cause we was at the end of her life, I bought her a book and she wrote every day. She wrote poems every day. Every time she wrote a poem, she called me. Wrote a poem, called me. Like literally, she's like, I'm about to pass. So this is what I'm about to do. So, but I say that to say like my grandmother definitely like nurtured that, you know, writing. You know, I got literally books from when I was 7 where I got stories, you know. She obviously has books where we write in and I'm drawing and stuff like that. So that was my first. I didn't realize it, but like when she passed and I saw that and I saw the book, you know, I'm a kid, like it's wild. Like that somebody would have that next to them, like when they going, which is wild. So I love her for that. But then like I got to a point when I was like 14, 15, where I was like super depressed. And so my mom took me to a counselor. My first time ever being there, he was like, "What do you like to do?" And I said, "I like to write stories or write poems or whatever." He was like, "You know that helps?" I'm like, what are you talking about?" He's like, "That helps depression. When you're sad, write." It's like, you know, the pressure that you use to literally write, like literal the act of writing pen to paper relieves pressure and stress. And obviously the writing of your thoughts slows your mind down and, you know, all of that. So when he told me that, you know, I heard it was like, you could write raps and feel better. You know what I'm saying? That's what I heard. So, you know, that's why I have books from when I was 15, because I was actually going through a depression, but I liked writing. So I used that anytime I felt a certain way. I wrote every day, and like literal journal entries would turn into raps type of thing, because I knew that would help me get out of this place that I couldn't understand at the time. So that's what kind of kept me to it. Then when I was around that same time, I started my first rap group. So that was just all the motivation. So just all of those, yeah, no, that's your circle. So just with all of those things, I just feel like this is who I am. It literally heals me and my shit that I got, and it, you know, helps me express myself. Which anybody that knows me, I'm huge on emotions. I'm passionate, whatever. But it's my outlet, and that's why I love writing. Yeah.
I think it's so beautiful when we reflect on what starts it and then what keeps it going, because it's that one seed that really, okay, I do this because of this reason. And now as we get older and really dive deeper into our craft, is I do this and these are the reasons.
Yeah.
And so that's raw.
Yeah, you gotta find it, because it'll be a lot of things to tell you to stop, or this is childish, or, you know, your words don't mean anything. You know, that'll happen to you. So you always gotta find your reason. You always gotta hold on to that. I keep a picture of my kid self just to remind me. You know, that's what I'm doing things for, is for the baby Sam, you know. So.
I love that, baby Sam. Let's get into it. All right, so we talked about what started you, and you talked a little bit about your influences, but who were some other influential people or artists that kept you moving in the direction that you on?
You can't tell. All right, so so this is Queen and Freddie Mercury. Freddie Mercury specifically, and also this like WMMS lamp is important. So my other grandmother, I would hang out with her all the time, and she would play WMMS, and that's obviously the rock station of America here. So they would play Queen obviously a lot, and my grandmother knew I loved it, so she bought 2 of those, put it in my little room at her house, and they scared the shit out of me, because it's scary looking for like 3. I literally remember being like looking at it scared, but I loved the music, so she thought that it didn't work out. But I love Queen, so like I just thought the music sounded cool, and like, oh, like, you know, all of that was cool. Then as I got older and I started digging into like their performances, like how much of a showman he was. If you look at the World Aid performance where he was just literally doing a call and response to the crowd for like 2 minutes. Like, to have that connection with a crowd where literally it's like 100,000 people, you can probably hear a pin drop because they're just like it's I've cried just watching that because of the energy. But one of my huge early inspirations is Queen. My first concert was Lauryn Hill and Outkast. That's where I decided that I wanted to do this for my life. I sat there in that seat in that arena and I was like, this is it. And just the people around me. That's my motivation now. It's just, how do I express myself? How do I live the life I see for myself really is my inspiration now. Outside of, obviously musicians, I can find inspiration from my cat. Like, it's, you get to a point where it's like it's all there, you know what I'm saying? It's not necessarily a band or a group or whatever. Somebody sent me some techno dance electronica music that was like, oh, this is fire. Like, I don't know I would like that, so I don't really also hold on to like who I'm inspired by, because now I'm like in some sort of matrix, like everything, and I'm seeing the codes and everything. So, but those were some of my early inspirations. Obviously, like Nas, Biggie, Pun, MC Light, Missy, Foxy Brown, Lil Kim. She the blueprint, man, for everybody. Like, I'm sorry.
You can't lie about that.
Like, Lil Kim was more of a blueprint for me than Lauryn Hill. Lauryn Hill was more of an idea. Like, I didn't have to look a certain way to be an artist and rap as a girl. But like, Lil Kim was who I wanted to be when I got older. I wanted to be that confident in my bikini when I got older. Like, I didn't want to do that now. But also, she was small and had a big voice. And I was small, and I was like, how does her voice so soft, but when she raps, it's so big? Like, that's what I was listening to hardcore. And I begged my mom, let me study this. Like, I was like, I don't want to be her. I just want to be her and learn how to be this big persona. So I love her too.
So kind of speaking to that, when you think about your performances, when you are performing on the stage, what is that experience like after, seeing your relation to Queen and how he really stuck out to you, and then Lil Kim, seeing yourself in her a little bit, being this small person but having this big presence? What's that like for you now?
It's like it's the personality I made up for myself. You know what I'm saying? I obviously therapy works, so you start to be like, why do I do this shit? But it's the bigness is like, I've had major names. So I've had Shorty was my first name, then I went by Plain Jane, now I'm Sam Supreme. So all of those like iterations of my rap self were like these big protectors for like the Sam that was writing in her journal about her little depressed feelings. So those were I'ma say these feelings, but I'ma say it like you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I'm sad, but I'm sad. You know what I'm saying? Own and protect my feelings. So that's why when I come off, I guess, on stage, sometimes it's like I'm trying to bring these feelings to life. I'm trying to feel them fully. And sometimes I don't know half the time what I'm doing on stage, because I do like just empty myself. I do enough practice to where when it's like showtime, I can just be myself. And like, sometimes I don't know what I'm gonna do or how I'm gonna do it. I got, you come to enough shows, you see, oh, Sam about to break this move down. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause, But for the most part, I try to really feel myself and be in that emotion. And my emotions are big. So I think that's why I come off as big. And I'm trying to protect myself. That's my like ego. That's my like all that shit. I put it there, you know, so that I can hopefully live life chill and ain't got to live that way off stage because I got it off, you know.
So would you say that performing is also another outlet for you?
Yeah.
Like to
That's the
flesh it out?
reason, the whole reason why I do all of it is to get on the stage. Like it's like all about the show.
So a lot of it, that's good, because I feel like similarly for me, like as an artist, a lot of the work that I do, when it's the writing, when it's the practicing, when it's the rehearsals and things like that, by the time I get on the stage and give it, that's the rest of it.
Yeah.
I'm fleshing it out. So yeah, that's necessary. That's definitely necessary. So moving into your music,
Yes.
right? One of my favorites of yours is "I Dance on You, Ho." That's a banger. I love it. I'm vibing. Yeah. It was great. So after looking at the credits, you also made the beat, right? So it's so many layers to this, right? So I love the song "I Dance on You, Ho." You also made the beat to it, and it came from the tape "I Lost My Hard Drive Twice in 1 Year." So this is kind of like a 3-part question.
Yeah.
But can you talk a little bit about producing music as well as emceeing over it? And then also talk a little bit about that project, how it came about.
Yeah, so I've been rapping for like 15 years. Like I said, I got this job, so I had to learn how to produce for the kids. So obviously my beats were like terrible at first. I loved, looking back on it now, I love that I made beats for kids. They were the best critics. Like, if I would have done the same thing with adults, I don't think I would have got as good because they would have been massaging my ego and not like telling me how they really feel. And so when I made, it was a period of time, like a 3-month period of time, where they were like, "Miss Sam, your beat sounds sad." And I was like, "For real? I thought it was happy." They like, this ain't it. So I was like, "Oh, damn, for real." So they was really like telling me what's up. They was like, "No, I use this." So I really appreciated them for that. But then once I got good enough for me, then I was like, okay, it's time to go. So that was like 2019, where I feel like it took me about a good year to like really get good at it. And then once I was good at it, it was just like any other time where I would get CDs or emails full of beats, and I would just pick what vibe I feel. Sometimes I don't feel my vibe. Sometimes like, oh my God, that beat is trash. Like, what the hell was I thinking? But most of the time it's just about expressing myself, so I don't really hold it too much. But it's fun. It's fun for me. It's another way to express myself. At a certain point, I was making all beats and I didn't write, which was different for me. So I'm still exploring it. I'm still learning. I feel like I'm still a baby producer. Like I don't know what I'm doing for real. I'm just like pressing buttons. But you know, I do take time. You know, I look at my YouTube videos and teach myself stuff. So it's pretty fun. Hey, what's good? This is my brother. Yeah. Not yet. So, all right. Sorry. Yeah. No, it's cool. So it works out. He feeds my cat. That's why he's like, "Did you feed her?" That's like, so you know, it works out. I feel like it is like a separate process. Like I do focus a lot more on making beats, and then once a beat hits me and I feel like writing, or a verse that I may have wrote a long time ago, whatever, then I'll go in. But I think most of the time I start with beats now, and then just find lyrics wherever I find them, and make it make sense. But it is different making music from silence to sound than like trying to jump in on other people's waves, which is a different also process for me too. So, but I like it either way. I like it all. Like it's all fun. I lost my hard drive twice in 1 year. So I lost my hard drive twice in 1 year. It crashed once. I rebuilt it, crashed again. I cried. I got it. I sent the second one off, and I got like 70% of the music back. So the songs that you hear on that project, I lost. Like I lost the files. So that was what like I just exported for me to hear. So like I Dance on You Ho is absolutely gone. That's it. That was just the first, like when I made it and I exported it, I was like, all right, I'll work on that later. I never got to do that. Same thing with Great People Make Great Music. That beat, the No Egos, Just Ears. I had a lot of fun making that one. I'm really sad that one was gone because that beat, I was learning finger drumming, and I finger drummed the whole beat. So like
That's crazy.
I'm gonna have like it took me a long time to find the sounds because it wasn't sounding like as natural as I wanted to sound. Like I'm sad about that particular one. I'm very sad about, but yeah, I lost all those songs, but I still wanted to come out with something. I was like very like antsy and very like, oh my god, like if I don't come out and do something now, because I had not come out with anything in 3 years. So I was like really like, I gotta do something. I gotta like tell people I want to do music again. So I just put that out. That Sam song I recorded because that was a song that I had did before too, but I just re-recorded it. Digi had made the beat, so I could find a stem. So that one worked out, but it was just really me saying like I make beats now, because most of it is that, and then that I'm back out here. So that was the point and the purpose of that, and just a lot of my music is about resiliency and is about like to keep going and keep moving and keep pushing and not staying strong, because I feel like that's bullshit sometimes. You don't have to stay strong because that's bullshit. Sometimes life is shit, and that's where I Dance on You Ho comes from. Is I was in a very, very, very dark time, and so like I always say, sometimes all you can do is dance, move. The people of the world will tell you that movement is also good for your mental health, is good for your body, is good just to clear your mind. So I feel like just I Dance on You Ho is like a mantra that I was saying, like when I get my shit together, I'm gonna dance on y'all bitches. When I get out of this situation, I'm gonna dance on the situation, not on hoes like particular people hoes, but like the hoe that is the situation that's trying to fuck with me. But also it could be dancing on you hoes like I'm at the wedding and I'm dancing on you hoes. Like it could be a positive thing. I don't know, you know.
A nice little double entendre.
Yes,
nice little double
it's
entendre.
all of that.
But nah, and I think that's the beautiful thing of like projects that mean something to the artist.
Mm-hmm.
I would have never knew that, because I did feel that vibe of like, you know, whatever situation is, I'm just dancing it off. That's what I received from it. Mm-hmm. But now knowing a little bit deeper, I understand like once this situation over, I'm gonna dance through it. I'm gonna dance on it. Once this experience is through, I'm gonna dance on it.
Not
like,
even
whatever it gotta
true.
be.
I had so many bills and I ain't have enough money, and so I can't do nothing about it but play this music and dance. No, and hopefully I come up with a solution in these 5 minutes. No. But if not, it'll just keep playing. So that's what that's about.
I love that. I want you to know something, like that song. I'm listening to it. I really love Great People Make Great Music, because this is where I was like, oh shit, it's these beats. And so, because I was listening to
Tears of Triumph.
Tears of Triumph. But then I was like, oh no, like this. I like the vibe. It was groovy, and I think maybe like these last few months I've been in a much more like groovy mood. Like I need to dance some shit off.
Yes.
Listening to that, I really want you to know it. Thank you. Your last project or latest project is called Tears in Triumph.
Yes.
Can you tell us what inspired it and what's your favorite song on the album? What's your favorite song?
My favorite song changes all the time. I think On and On was my favorite song to make because of like me playing with the words, and that beat is so like spacey. I did a show on this past Saturday, and when the sound system is amazing, and like when the bass was dropping, they were just like moving like in just weird ways, and I was like, hell yeah, they fuck with this. So I think I like that one today because the people at that show was like really like them hips was like really going. But that project, I know you asked me a question about Even, right? Mm-hmm. So that project was an experiment for that. Okay. So obviously I came out with, I lost my hard drive, and I was like, okay, I gotta do something. I gotta do something. So I was like, what can I do? I've been looking at Even for like the last year through La Russell. And like, you know, obviously that's like the new poster boy for independence right now. Mm-hmm. And so I was just watching the platform and seeing what the platform did. It felt like Even had the marketing and the communication of like, we need to support artists before streaming hits because streaming doesn't pay. Like, I like the messaging. So I was like, okay, cool. Let me see how this will work. Let me see how this will flesh out, because I'm trying to figure out my infrastructure and like, how do I want to build and set myself up to do music for a long time? What does direct to consumer look like? What does that mean? Like all these fancy words, I don't really care about all these articles. I'm trying to see what it looked like in real life. Plus, I wanted to challenge myself, see, okay, how fast can I come up with this project? All these marketing things, like I don't really think about that. That's like, yeah, it was like, let me figure all this stuff out. So we did the recording. I got all my features done. I set it up to be released on Even. I feel like also the sound of the project is like very celebratory. It's ready for the show. It's just like everything is like, because I'm thinking about the show. I'm thinking about the performance. So with that, with Even, now that I'm through the project, through the release, it was really exciting because if I had any problems, I can reach out to them directly and they'll email me back. So imagine if you would have got on Spotify when you can email them about your upload. You feel what I'm saying? So it could build and be that big, I feel. So I wanted to put the project out to see how their infrastructure worked on releasing and seeing if it was beneficial for me. So basically how I ran it was I did a promo for like a month. I released the project on Even, and then you could pay whatever you want. So it's $1 plus. But if you paid $10 or more, you got into the show. If you paid $50 or more, I gave away like 10 or 15 vinyl and a vinyl player. And I did a raffle. So for me, it was successful because I made money on the music. People paid for the project. People paid for tickets to the show. When I was at the show, people paid more for raffle tickets. So it was like, okay, that's my goal. I'm not trying to like be rich like Jay-Z on making music. Like, that's not my goal. My goal is to make a sustainable living. Like, being a broke artist shouldn't be like the standard. You know what I mean? So I feel like I have value, and I feel like people see the value. And did I make everything I wanted to make? No. I came close to breaking even. Those videos, they look good, Eddie. They look good. But, working budgets, understanding your budget for your album, understanding timing for it. There's things that I wanted to do that I couldn't afford to do, or I couldn't find the people to do. So it was just fleshing all of that out. So I learned a lot about my process and what infrastructure I need and what I need to think about before my next release. So it was a learning opportunity really for me too.
When you think about even or any other platform that prioritizes the artist and helping the artist monetize, you kind of get into almost an administrative bag of,
Yes.
okay, I got to think about marketing. I got to think about how many sales is this going to get, or like even those marketing tactics as far as, okay, if you pay me this much, here's what else I can give you. And that is, you learn, I think for me, I'll say, it taught me about showing up for other artists for real. Because it's like, oh no, this is taxing. It's taxing. And then like you said, even when you think about the videos that come with putting on things and being realistic, I think for me, I learned a lot about being realistic about what I wanted, what I could honestly afford, what I could really do. And then I would say, there's this book by Damon John, and he talks a little bit about being up against it. And like basically you're back up against the wall, and that's when you become most creative. Yeah. So it's like, okay, this is not gonna work the way I wanted to, but this is gonna work the way I needed to. And so can you talk a little bit about like, what were some creative things that you did in place of things that you couldn't necessarily get done, or things that you just decided, you know what, I'm gonna try this to see how it works?
The balloons. So I brought the balloons in because I needed something to be that like through line visually, and represent something. So Tears and Triumph, obviously, when you think about it, it's like some sort of celebration of hardship, like, And thinking about the balloon disaster that happened in Cleveland, I was like, okay, let me bring the balloons in. So just when you talk about like making sure that comes across in everything I do, like just that alone was like taxing, because it's like, okay, so if I'm gonna have balloons, I was like, well, should I have balloons popping in my music? I was like, I don't know if I want the sound of balloons. I had to think about it. Then I was like, okay, well, is the balloons only gonna be visual? So I was like, okay, it's only gonna be visual. Then I was like, okay, choosing the balloons was cost effective because you can buy 100 balloons for like $6. So I was like, okay, cool. So no matter what, I can always have the balloons and it's not gonna cost me much. So the album cover, I shot with Roderick. We created a whole like sculptures out of balloons. We got real artistic with it. So, using that, and everybody that I had to deal with had to deal with these balloons too. So working with Eddie at Breakthrough, we made a little balloon situation out of that video. Then when I had the actual show, I decorated the stage with balloons, like being intentional with that. And, it taking me an hour and a half to put all the balloons up before the show, the balloons was the thing, but that showed me the detail. People appreciated that, you know what I'm saying? Like, more people commented about my marketing than my music. I was telling more things, which is like, I don't know what's a win.
It's not for real. It's
like this is good. I think I won. So I think that I feel like I executed where people was like, I see what you're doing. You're doing something that makes me feel some sort of investment. Yeah. So it just helps me think, because I do most of things here on my own. I sort everything out and say, okay, this is what I need you to do. This, So it kind of, that process helped me think about what I need to think about. And I get real administrative. I got a whole like database system that I manage my music off of, that is a whole intranet type of situation. But that's what it actually does take to execute ideas. I don't care about your idea. Everybody got an idea. I care if you can execute it.
That's solid. That's definitely solid.
Man.
And I will say that the balloons was like, I think when I thought about the balloons, it was a celebratory. And I think the beautiful thing about having those balloons was when you look at Tears and Triumph, balloons work in both ways for real. Like you gonna have them balloons when you might be going to a loved one's gravesite, when you gonna go visit them, but then you also gonna have them balloons at graduation.
Exactly.
So that was a perfect through line. That was beautiful, Sam.
So I had fun with that. Maybe I just have balloons every time. I don't know.
It might work. It might work.
I just might have balloons. But that was fun though. That was
fun. So now we getting ready for Writer's Room, right?
Yeah.
How do you feel about your Writer's Room event? Are you excited? Like, what's the vibes? You got something special cooking now? Like, what's the vibe?
I'm not sure what the vibe is yet. For me, I bring myself all the time. Mm-hmm. So no matter what, I'm gonna bring myself. Nice. But I really like, I like how it's about the words. So for me, that's kind of what I'm thinking. Mm. Like, how do I highlight my words more? Because even my mom comments online. She's like, I don't know what you be really talking about. Like, you can hear it, but like the story behind it, because I have a lot that I'm thinking about with the song. And when I say, well, yeah, I said this, but I really meant that. And it's like, well, I didn't know that, you know? So I don't know, maybe breaking down some stuff a little bit more, you know, getting it into what I really meant when I said, maybe. Talking to my brother, he's like, you won't know what this song is unless you know you. Like, he's like, I know exactly what you're talking about because I know you. But, and that's like with a lot of different songs. I don't know where I have like double, triple. I mean, okay, so I wrote this song, Berry Success. A lot of people like the song, but that was a very fucked up day for me. So I have fibromyalgia. So fibromyalgia is like, they kind of don't know what it is. It basically you in pain all the time. So I got the diagnosis 2 days before my 30th birthday. So it's like, you know, I'm walking into my 30s with a chronic pain disorder. Heard my truth. You don't know much. Heartbroken, accepting the cold crush. Can't slow the pour, spill my whole gut. Like, I was mad as fuck that morning. Like, because I heard what they said. Like, why I found the answer. I heard my truth. But you don't know. It's my birthday. Everybody is excited. I want to cry and smash everything in this room because it's verified I'll be in pain for the rest of my life. There's nothing I can do about it. I just turned 30. Heartbroken. Yeah. Accepting this cold crush. I can't slow the pour, spill my whole guts. Like, I was just mad. But it was like, wait a minute, hold up, shine, carry a moment. Like, just remembering who you are. Then it was like, God gave me an honor to give him the glory to wake up this morning and leap for those before me. It's hard to ignore. See, here we go again. How do I forget when I'm weak? I have a friend. Like, understanding that, like, I got a purpose. I can do this. Shit gets hard, but realize somebody's there. Yeah. And it's hard when you at a place where I'm at and your whole body's on fire and you're just trying to get up the stairs on time to get to the bathroom. You're like, why am I upset? Huh? I heard my truth. You don't know much. You know what I'm saying? So at the time, like I was working in the kids programs and I was like, had to show up for all these people and I didn't realize how much that was hurting me. Yes, for real. And so, you know, we talk about, you know, intersections, invisible disease and illness is a real thing. So like just that was a song that, you know, I constantly perform all the time. But like, you know, I gotta remind myself where I was at when I wrote that song, and I was in tears.
I appreciate the resilience that shows up in your work. I think that in those types of moments where, you know, you kind of reflected on like the Nina Simone quote that everybody uses, like an artist got to reflect the times. I think when we take it to a personal level, when we reflect our times, when we tell the truth about our emotions
that is what it is.
And the frustrations that we face on a daily basis, where I'm going through this and I got to show up for all of these different people and I can't, where it's not quote unquote fair for me to complain in front of all of these people. And man, I appreciate that so much.
That was a time, you know, because I had to do shows when I was going through that even Tears of Triumph. The last few songs, my legs just said I had a whole viral flare up because it was like, you're done. Yeah. So I had to, you know, and that was some of the me going away was because I couldn't hide it. I couldn't hide. Now it's like my body literally says no. You know what I'm saying? It's not even I can slide through this real quick. So at certain points, I had to be honest about it because people were like, what's wrong with you? You know what I'm saying? I don't want to just, because you know, it's a lot to go through that type of thing, you know. But also like, when you say resiliency, it reminds me of this. I was watching a news story. I don't know what area it was, but a hurricane had happened or a tornado, something happened. And the news reporter's like, you know, you're being so resilient. And it was like, resiliency? I don't like resiliency. Because that means I got to go through something. Why I got to go through it? That's real. And I was like, you know what? I fuck with her. She gonna make it, but it's about the romanticizing of it.
Like you said, what's strong.
And it's like, I just lost all my shit and you're like, let me lose my shit. No, I don't have to be resilient. I want to throw everything. You know, I lost everything. And I fucked with her in that moment, even though like, yes, I got a lot of themes of resiliency, but then it made me question, like, is this what we taught to be, like, strong all the time? This is why a lot of Black women, like, reject the term strong because everybody is so proud of this resiliency, but it's like, we don't want to address, like, why the reality of why I got to overcome all of these things, you know? And I think overcoming is just human existence. If everything was beautiful in the world and we had no problems and we was holding hands, a tree gonna fall in the night and might kill a baby and society might crumble. You feel what I'm saying? Yeah. And we gotta be resilient over that. So I think, you know, yes, it is something that is a part of like human existence, is that we gotta, you know, overcome things, overcome famine, overcome, you know, storms, you know, not even ourselves and our own bullshit. But I think we also have to realize and identify with that hurt, and sometimes let people live and have those negative emotions or like that hurt and that anger, so they don't have to flip it and make it like no, like no, you don't have, you don't have to be resilient if you don't want to. You know what I'm saying? Like, so.
I appreciate that insight, bro. I appreciate the insight because it's like you said, one of the things that I've learned through therapy is, bro, you're going to have days where you don't like nothing. Yes. And there is no coming back from that. Ain't no way to turn around and be like, all right, I'm back. I transmuted this into joy, and now I can stand on top of this. Like, it's some things that's like, nah, I'm still fucked up. I'm still not rocking with it. I still don't like it, but it is what it is. So I appreciate that insight too. That's necessary. All right, cool. Last question, and I'm out your hair. What is next for Sam Supreme?
I don't know. If you would have asked me 5 years ago, would I be here? I would laugh at you. So I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I know how I feel. I feel I want to continue to make music like BB King, like Willie Nelson, like Grace Jones, where they're still out, like, you know, the Rolling Stones, they're like 85 still. Like, that's how I see myself. I looked at Willie Nelson's schedule. He's 91 and he's booked through next year. Like, yes. So that's what I want to do. That's what I feel like I want to do. I'm also so I'm trying to build community with the idea of great people make great music. And so I'm starting these workshops where we're going to talk about music entrepreneurship. What does it mean to own music? What rights does it give you to own music? What does a music economy look like in Cleveland? Because they just put a census out. So anytime they put a census out, you already know something's about to happen. But I feel like, I don't know if the musicians are organized. The musicians that don't work for the orchestra or, you know, in those places are organized to see benefits from anything that would happen in the city outside of an individual basis. We can't keep saying like individual wins are wins for all of musicians. And I've been one of those people that won. So I'm saying as a winner, there needs to be more built for us to actually stand on, and build careers for what it'll look like for the musician in the future, because the industry is like at a place where it's shaking up, and a lot of people are asking, how does this benefit musicians? You know, there's a living wage for musicians act out, like there's laws trying to be passed about this shit right now. So that's another part of me as I get older, is like, how do I become a part of creating situations not only for myself but others to make money off their music, still stay in Cleveland, because I feel like this is the best place to be a creative person. Low cost of living, cool ass people. We got the lake, we got this airport that's fly as fuck. You know what I'm saying? You can manufacture physical music here in all forms. It's all available. We got the history with the Rock Hall. It's like all here. But I feel like we're not organized enough to see it benefit the musicians. So that's what I want to do, is to figure out how to organize that and meet with different people that don't just want to use the system for themselves, but pour into it. Because we fantasize and idealize places like Atlanta and places like New York, California that had this type of synergy. But it's because people are pouring into the idea and not just doing it until it benefits them and they're out the system. So I don't know. That's what I think I want to work on, but I don't know where I'll be. Life gets weird. Sometimes you end up in different countries and different places for reasons unknown. So we'll see. We might meet somebody at the park, you know what I'm saying, that might have an opportunity to blow my mind, and I don't know. So
well, thank you for kicking it with us.
Yes.
Thanks for hanging out, man. Definitely enjoyed you. Definitely. I'm grateful. Fun. You got anything you want to say to the people at all?
Yeah, I hope the sweat on my forehead wasn't too shiny. It's hot today. It's a 90-degree day in Cleveland. Welcome to my home, my space where I create, I think, I plot, I plan. Listen to my music. Come to a show. Introduce yourself. Let's chill. I'll see y'all. Peace. I forgot what I said already. Local artist of pop, because you a local artist. You know, as soon as you're not a local artist, then you're cool. Which is weird. But we do have this new pride. There's this new pride about Cleveland, especially after like the championship and all this development and shit start happening. Now there are more Cleveland people that want to get to know Cleveland, don't have this such a defeatist attitude about the city anymore. But it's just, is it gonna reflect us, or is it just gonna turn into like one time I had somebody, they had moved here from Brooklyn, and they were like, this reminds me of Brooklyn before it was gentrified, and I think I'm gonna open up a coffee shop. And I said, don't do that. I said, don't do that. You literally just said this is right before it was gentrified. You hated it, and you come in here wanting me to be excited about you coming in and gentrifying Cleveland, and you don't even know where Cleveland coffee shops are. You asking me where to put it? You know what I'm saying? So like, I don't want shit like that to happen. So I can display my artistic skills and abilities. All right. That's like, it just came out of like, so I got a job where I was teaching kids how to, okay. Yeah. That's usually how I kind of get started, and then just go from there. But usually it's about just making a groove first and kind of getting into it. Playing around with sounds like you just saw me doing, and yeah, just having fun, you know, just poking around with shit.